going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of Short Shifts, the official North American Hockey League podcast. I'm Brandon Hofstra, joined here, of course, with Vinnie Paracelli. Vinnie, we're down now to just 8 teams. We'll go through each division here in today's episode, which is why we're doing an episode, obviously. But first round in the books, second round now, we got some familiar faces meeting up. We got an in-state rivalry. We've got some teams that played each other last year to go to the Robertson Cup Championship. We have a team for the first time out here playing in this as well. And then we have a very, very familiar, I guess it was a first round last year, but some teams that have some bad blood between each other. But first off, real quick, just talk about this first round and what you saw out of the teams that we had.
I mean, the first round was pretty electric overall. I mean, we had 3 Game 5s, so almost half the series went to Game 5. Then we only had, I think, 2 or 3 sweeps, which is nice. I remember, I think it was it last year, maybe 2 years ago? It was like 6 out of the 8 or 7 out of the 8. We were all sweeps. So like, it was nice to see the parity kind of show up throughout the league. Definitely some performances, to say the least. We saw a lot of high-scoring games, which is very uncommon for the playoffs. And then we saw a lot of low-scoring games, which is very common for the South. I mean, the playoffs. So interested in seeing what the second round brings us. And I loved a Game 5 going to overtime. Of course, my pick is now out for that division. So I think I get to, like, I don't know if I get to repick, but like I get to make a prediction on the series at hand in case a couple forgot, because my other 3 are still alive. But we'll get to that when we get there.
I think a handful of mine are no longer with us. But let's just run through real quick what we got. We have in the Central Division, the Bismarck Bobcats taking on the Minot Minotauros. East Division, the Maine Nordiques will face off against the Maryland Black Bears. The Midwest will see the Wisconsin Wendigo against the Anchorage Wolverines. And in the Dirty South, we have the Shreveport Mudbugs taking on the Lone Star Brahmas. Let's first off, Vinny, we'll start in the Central. Bismarck beating Aberdeen in a 3-2 series. Minot busting out the brooms against the Bruins. The top-seeded team is taking on the second top-seeded team in the division. But what did you see, and who did you see kind of stick out? We have a note here that Minot, they came to play 19 goals to 3 goals against. A little harder road, though, for the Bismarck Bobcats, as they needed all 5 games to move on to this second round, taking care of the Wings and taking care of business. But first time since 2018 that Bismarck has been looking for their appearance in the Robertson Cup, I guess, first time since 2018, while Bismarck first time since 2016. Sorry.
Yeah, I got it. A lot of numbers, so it's confusing.
Words.
Words are hard for you. I mean, Minot was, the best team in the first round. There's no other way to put it. They scored, they defended, they were top to bottom the best team in round 1. We'll carry it to round 2, in-state rival. I know, Bismarck and Minot. I think this is actually the first time they play each other in the finals to go to the Robertson Cup, so that's pretty exciting. They've got just a plethora of guys that can hurt you. Nicholas Kettman, Nick Sawicki, Ian Spencer, Joel Lettinen. I mean, all those guys were monsters in just the 3 games. And it's like, you look at the scoring leaderboard, It's like tough because they don't have that many points, but then again, they only played 3 games. So they played really well. Bismarck, like you noted, took the 5. They split at home. They lose that Game 3 in Aberdeen, and all of a sudden, a switch was flipped. Game 4, 8 goals for them. Game 5, they kind of dominated throughout. So I think, they kind of got it going at the right time. Will they be able to stop the steamroller that is Minot? That remains to be seen. And the weird thing is that Minot, a lot of offense. Bismarck this year known for their goaltending. They combined for 10 shutouts throughout the year. So will they have enough in the crease between Clayton Knapp and Stephen Peck to slow down Minot, or will the unstoppable force, beat the immovable object?
Right. And looking right now at the top scorers so far in the postseason, you got the 5th top scorer. Granted, he played 2 more games, but you have Tommy Cronin of Bismarck with 7 points. And then you hop down that list. You got 3 more Bobcats right there at 18, 19, and 20 with Jake Peterson, 5 points. Evan Hunter as well, 5 points. Patrick Johnson, 5 points. 24 with Tomas Toth, 5 points. And then you get to Minot. But 3 games, 5 points is pretty impressive as well. They got 3 guys there with Nicholas Kent-Onen, and Nicholas Sawicki, and Ian Spencer. Oh, and then Joel Lettinen, like you said as well. And some guys with some firepower. And like I said, 3 games to 5 games, it's pretty, I don't know, a little more impressive, I would think, but not diminishing anything on the other side of the puck.
No, and then that's the thing. Like Minot was just so good. Like they were so good. They didn't need those extra games. So now we're sitting here and they're like you look like you said you looked at leaderboard and it's just like it's a Rochester guy, Bismarck guy, Shreveport guy, like guys that played the 5 games that average over a point per game, which is obviously very good. But like meanwhile, these guys are almost like 2 points per game. But because they didn't play many games, they don't show up in the top of the leaderboard. But still, here's the thing: my pick before the first round was Minot. My pick through this round is going to be Minot. I think they might be challenging for best overall team. Like they're gonna, I think they're gonna be in the Robertson Cup, and I think they might be in the Robertson Championship game.
I don't remember if I said Bismarck or if I said might not. We'll have to roll the tape from a few weeks back to see what I picked, but unless you can think off the top of your head.
So I want to say you had 0-1 seeds. I think.
I had no. I know the South for sure. I had New Mexico. And I
that
think
didn't go well for you.
Nope. I had Wisconsin, Midwest, East, Rochester. So that one's gone. And then Central, I want to say I said Bismarck or Minot, one of the two. But
I'm fairly confident. We'll have to roll the tape, but I'm fairly confident you had
yeah,
0-1 seeds. I remember making a point, like a statement about it. So
yeah. I mean, I was perfect last year, but no one asked. Anyways, let's keep this thing moving. We'll look over at the East Division now. It's a matchup of the division final from last year in the East. We have the Maine Nordiques, who are the second seed, against the number 1 seeded Maryland Black Bears. Rematch of last year. Obviously, Maryland took care of that last year, but two teams that are pretty powerful, pretty strong. Maryland swept New Jersey in the division semifinals with Dimitri Kebrew and Jeremy Tremblay leading the way with 5 points each for the Black Bears. And then Maine dropped both games in Rochester, forcing a Game 5 at the Coliseum on Monday after falling behind 1-0. And that named Zion Green, putting the team on his back. Notched a point, winning goal overtime as well as the Nordiques moved on to the second round. But Maryland sweeping. Then you get to sit and watch, and you wait. Maine now, bus legs, traveling a lot, playing 5 games. You head up, what is that, a 10-hour drive up from Lewiston down to the Maryland area.
not a short one. It's not a short one.
Definitely not a short one. It's very scenic, but not fun. I don't know. I think, like we said, like I've said, like we've thought, Maryland has been here before last year. Maine has as well in this sense, but you got kind of the same core of guys and coaching staff with Maryland from last year. You have Maine. I'm not taking anything away from Nick Skurlick and his boys, but new coaching staff, maybe gripping the stick a little tighter, maybe a little more room for error, or no room for error, I should say. But I don't know. I'm thinking it's Maryland's game here. What do you think?
So I said Minot was the most impressive team in the first round. I think Maryland was the second most impressive team. I thought New Jersey, we hadn't seen it in a couple of years since we introduced the play-in series. You had the week off for the 1 and 2 seeds. You had games being played by the other ones, getting those playoff jitters out of the way. And in the sense of New Jersey, it didn't mean anything. Like New Jersey got they played well. Maryland came back late in game 1, had an overtime win in game 2, dominated kind of game 3, just took it to them. But Maryland, I think, was the second most impressive team in that first round. Like to your point, they have the experience of being there last year. They kind of have maybe a chip on their shoulder if they got so close and then they got beat by Austin in the Robertson Cup semis, and now they're just like, hey, we want to get back here because we know we're just as good and we should have maybe been at that championship game a year ago. And I think from the side of the Maine Nordiques, you've got some talented veteran players that have been around the junior hockey ranks. None of them have been, I would say none of them, because I don't know every single person's history on that roster, but not a lot of Robertson Cup experience, if any. Like you mentioned, Skurlick, brand new coach, first year. I would argue to say that maybe they're not gripping the sticks as tight because they're kind of playing with house money. I'm not saying no one expected them to be here, but first year I think if you're a Maine Nordique fan after missing the playoffs last year, after getting eliminated in the playoffs last year, having going through the change, maybe you're thinking, new coach, this might be like a rebuilding year, right?
Right.
But now we're right back to where we were last year. So I think maybe it's just house money where maybe they didn't expect to be here with the first year head coach. So, and I also think, you mentioned that they played Maryland last year. These two teams also played each other in 2021, and Maine got the better of Maryland and went to the Robertson Cup. So it would be very interesting to see. The bus legs, I think, are a thing. I think playing those extra games could be a factor. And Maine is yet to win a playoff game on the road yet. And if they're going to advance to the Robertson Cup, they got to do at least one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Didn't you say, since you've worked in the North American Hockey League, it's always been a different representative every year for you at the Robertson?
That's why I picked Rochester.
Okay, so we could see
first time for everything. Yeah, first time for everything. Yeah.
Keep moving along. Midwest Division will have the second-ranked Wisconsin Wendigo taking on the Anchorage Wolverines. Anchorage, 3-1 win over the Minnesota Wilderness, while Wisconsin swept the Janesville Jets 3-0. Anchorage looking to return to Blaine for the second time in their 3-year history, while Wisconsin trying to punch their ticket to Blaine for the first time in franchise history. Anchorage needed 4 games to dispatch the Minnesota Wilderness. Tyler Hennon helped in the offense with 5 points. It was an easier path, though, for Wisconsin, as not only did they stay in state, but they just needed 3 games to ground the Jets. Everett Patilla had 4 points for the Wendigo, while I'm going to butcher this name, Jacob Jastrzewski. I said it right.
Jastrzewski.
There we go. And Max Martin, Max, obviously, we know what he's done all regular season. Both those guys, 3 points for the Wendigo. So, obviously, this series will start in Alaska. We'll go from there, and then so on and so forth, back down to Wisconsin, and then possibly, back to Anchorage?
No, so the way it's going to work, we got games 1 and 2 tonight, tomorrow. If Anchorage is up 2-0, the series finishes in Wisconsin. If it's 2-0 Wisconsin or 1-1, they're going to play game 3 on Sunday in Anchorage and then come back to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got to get 1 home game. They got to get 1. Unless the Wendigo sweep all 3 in Anchorage. That's the only way they don't get it if they win. But yeah, so here's where I see this series. So you mentioned Anchorage going for their second time in 3 years. The Wisconsin Wendigo were here last year. They were the 1 seed in the division, got beat by the Wilderness. So experience, you got guys on both sides that kind of been here. Blake Hiddala, he's been here as a coach now. He kind of maybe knows what he needs to correct or work on or keep his guys focused, that kind of thing. Obviously, the travel is a little different going from Wisconsin to Minnesota rather than Wisconsin to Alaska, but that's not here or there. I think for the Wendigo, the key is going to be Max Beckford. I'm not going to take anything away from Liam Bierman or Makar up there in Anchorage, but the Wolverines score goals. They got Romulus, they got Nicolania, they got Hennon, they've got a number of guys, Cade Shea. They got a number of guys that can beat you offensively. They're not known as a defensive-minded, not actually defensive-minded, but the goalies don't super stand out. Max Beckford in that first series was unreal. GAA of 1, 974 save percentage, had a shutout. Veteran guy who was there last year. I think he's the key. If he plays to his potential, I think the Wendigo get the job done, whether it be in Anchorage or having to come back down to the lower 48 and take care of business here in the dome.
Right. I mean, you look at these teams against each other regular season wise. Anchorage finished with a 39-14, 2-5 record. Wisconsin 39-15, 3-3. So you had 85 points at first place, 84 points at second place. So on paper, this might be one of the best series, I think, heading into the Robertson Cup Championship. These two teams have been running the Midwest Division all season long. You got the league's top scorer with Max Martin, who had 97 points to end the season. Tyler Graham right behind him, or Graham, 62 points. Will Schumacher. I think it's going to be a really, really, really good series.
I like how you gasp at the 97. You're like, because we follow it all year long, but it's like, you look at it, you're like 97. Holy God, that's a lot. 5 head-to-head meetings this season. The Wendigo won 3 of the 5, and one of them they lost was in overtime. So they played close games all season long. So with that being said, I'm going to predict that this series goes 5 games.
All right, I'm going to say 4.
Okay.
And It's funny that we laughed at that 97 points. It's kind of like my created character on NHL. Jonathan Steve is his name. He just lights out up front. But 97 points, you can't bat your eyes at that. Anything else you want to add on this one?
I think you said earlier this will be one the best series. I really think it will be, and not so much from a closeness standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint as well. I think both teams have the ability to have a lot of firepower. I think they both could put on a show defensively with the goaltending, but I think there's gonna be a lot of chances for each side, and the goalies are gonna stand their heads to make a lot of saves. So it's gonna be the most entertaining series. I'll say that.
Yeah, bust out the Mountain Dew. It'll be a late one for the next few nights up there in Anchorage. Over to the south, we have a battle for the ages. Two teams that just love each other. The Shreveport Mudbugs, who are the second seed, taking on the first seeded Lone Star Brahmas. Lone Star 3-1 win over the New Mexico Ice Wolves to head to the division finals game. And then the Shreveport Mudbugs went to 5 with the Rhinos, where they won 3-2. Lone Star Shreveport renew this rivalry tonight at the Shoebox, just down the road here in Dallas. With the rights to go to Blaine on the line. Like I said, Lone Star took down New Mexico in 4 games, with some players putting up 6 points in 4 games. Mudbugs had to play 5 games to get rid of those pesky Rhinos, with Colin Vassallo and Kyan Haldenby, each registering 3 points, 3 goals and 7 points in the series. And these two teams have combined to win 3 of the last 6 Robertson Cup championships.
That's a good note there. What I'm going to say is that they play each other. They played 8 times this season. They each won 4. So I need to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
They played last year. There was a 4 overtime game, followed by another overtime game the next night. Then there was almost a double overtime game in game 4, but they scored like 2 seconds left to not do that. And then there was a 1-0 game in game 5. Point is that I almost expect every game of the series to go to overtime just because they're going to be so close. The only difference is that last year Lone Star was boring.
Yeah,
we've gone over that a million times.
Yes, we have.
Lone Star is in the top 10 in offense this year. They can score. Shreveport, not so much, but they still defend very well. Elliot Sagan, Les Carbo has been money in between the pipes.
Yeah.
Jack Winicky, Deves Roloffs, whoever they put in is going to be good as well. I'm going to tell you now, and last year I had this, the series over-under was 15.5 goals. I took the under. And, of course, Game 5, with that 1 goal that was in Game 5, they hit 16. So I'm gonna bump it up a little bit and say for the 5-game series, yes, it's going 5 games. There will be less than 16.5 goals scored, which means I'm going for a 2-1 game every night.
Okay, you heard it there.
And I also think this is gonna be a really good series for a fan watching it at home. It may not be the most entertaining.
Right.
Fan in the arena, great. Shoebox, tight knit. Right on top of each other,
rivalry.
Throwing the bulls, the little bulls on the ice. Shreveport, George's Pond, great atmosphere. The Mudbugs get thrown out there.
Yep.
Electric barns. I've been to both of them. I haven't been to all of them, but I've been to those 2. Both electric barns. Be great for a fan in the building, for watching it on your computer, TV, phone, laptop. Set an alarm. You might fall asleep during it. I did last year. I fell asleep during the 3rd overtime. I woke up before the 4th overtime started. But
where am I?
It should be some great hockey. Hopefully, it doesn't keep us up. Well, we get the last games anyway. So if it does go 4 overtimes, we'll have another game going on too. So that's okay.
Yeah, we're up as it is. All right, there's the preview here of the 2024 Robertson Cup Division Finals. Again, best of 5 series all around. Winners move on to the championship in Blaine, Minnesota. Vinny, we've got some news. We've got a few new teams that we'd like to talk about: the Watertown Shamrocks, the Minnesota Mallards, and the newest one, the Elmira Aviators. We'll start with Watertown, another team based in South Dakota, another team that will be playing in the Central Division. Exciting times here for the NA and Central Division, especially getting a few new teams, and the East will get one as well. But it's always fun. It's always fun seeing these new teams, seeing these new logos and all that stuff.
So the Central Division, my biggest gripe about them was that they always just play the same 5 teams over and over and over again. I thought as a fan, it's got to get boring. Well, here you go. You got 2 new teams that are going to come to the barn. Like you said, we'll start with Watertown. I like green. Green is one of my colors. I like it, so I'm a big fan of the green color scheme. Um, South Dakota I actually spent some time out there recently. Very dedicated about their teams.
Hmm.
Aberdeen, as we know, has a big following. I expect nothing less of Watertown. I think that group there is off to a good start, and I think the Central Division is one of the tougher divisions in the league. So they're you might not see the on ice success right away, but I think that fan experience is going to be there for that town. They announced the team on St. Patrick's Day, so
Right.
clearly there's some kind of Irish connection to that town.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting place to visit. I'll say that.
Definitely. The Minnesota Mallards, probably one of my newest favorite logos in the NA. They released another new one, their finalized graphic that you can see on our Twitter at NAHL Hockey. Color scheme, same as the University of Minnesota Duluth. You got a fighting mallard holding the hockey stick there. Looks like you might have a mohawk kind of as well. Um, Super cool logo, great location, just northeast of Minneapolis, St. Paul, a suburb up there. They will officially have the easiest trip to the NAHL showcase. They will drive 15 minutes.
At that point, do you even get on the bus? Like you just go from the billet's house to the rink, like
I mean,
in
if
a
you're living
car?
in
Like
Blaine, like who knows where some of these billets are? Like, yeah,
I mean, you might as well just go yourself, save the money. Like just
exactly.
go spend it somewhere else on like sticks or gear or whatever.
Yeah,
The Mallards logo is electric. I do enjoy it. I do like the color scheme. I like how all three teams that came in with newer color schemes that we don't really see that much in the NAHL, especially the Mallards. I think is probably the most unique.
yeah.
Um, AJ Pacino's involved with that club. He was with the Minnesota Magicians back a while ago, so he's got some NA experience. I'm looking forward to what they produce because obviously like the college is right there, so
Right.
there's gonna be plenty of Division I scouts very near to that area. So a lot of you might see scouts maybe not make that drive somewhere else because they know that kid's coming to Minnesota and Forest
Right.
Lake. So a lot of opportunities for guys to be seen by the scouts in Minnesota.
I agree. And our newest one that we announced on May 1st, 2024, the Elmira Aviators will be the second NAHL team based out of the state of New York, Vinnie's home state. I like this logo too. I like the color scheme. I went to Kansas State for a quick second. Same exact color scheme there with the purple, silver, black, and white. I think it's sharp. I think adding another aircraft into the NAHL is fun. But like I said, second team New York, and I know the Rochester Junior Americans are already trying to stir the pot, saying we have a rivalry that's already going on Twitter and stuff like that. But 10 teams in the East now, continued growth. A lot of schools out east as well, so it'll be a good spot for scouts, like you were talking about too. I've never been to
Yeah,
Elmira. I don't know if you have.
I have not been to Elmira, but looking at that arena, yes, or a couple days ago, that is a nice little NA barn, that's for sure. Got the big scoreboard, the bowl seating. I'm looking forward to that. I do like the purple color scheme. Only the Brahmas and the Mudbugs have purple in their logo for as far as I know. So that'd be nice to get something different in there. East Division, yeah, like you mentioned, Rochester getting a in-state rival, a geographic rival. So that's a short trip for them, a couple hours, no biggie for them. And gosh, Jets, Aviators we're differentiating a little bit, so that's good.
Yep.
I like the logo. I've seen the jerseys. We'll say I've seen the design.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say one thing about it, and this may be quite a bit of a spoiler.
Okay.
No purple jersey yet. I
Oh,
need to get a purple jersey.
yeah.
I want it. I
Elmira
need it.
impressive.
Or even do like the New York Rangers style, like the diagonal.
Mm,
You're in New York, might as well play
yeah.
on the theme. But yeah, Elmira is shockingly close to Johnstown. Believe it
Oh,
or
wow.
not, it's real close to the New York Pennsylvania border. So a short little trip for Johnstown, maybe that ignites a little bit of a in-state or I guess out-of-state rivalry as well. I mean, Johnstown, I think probably is closer to Elmira than it is to Philly. So
Wow. Right on. Yeah, the first arena is where they're playing out of 3,700 seat multi-purpose facility in downtown Elmira. So, a lot to look forward to for the upcoming season, but the season is not done yet. 8 teams, 4 spots, 1 champion. It all
who's
gets
gonna come join us in Blaine?
Yeah, exactly. Gets underway tonight. Second round of the playoffs, the division finals, and then we'll go from there. Anything else you want to add, Vinny, before we wrap up this short kind of preview episode?
Well, all I got is I got 3 of my picks still in. If I got to pick one more to replace Rochester, I'm going to go Black Bears to keep on keeping on.
Same.
I mean, trust me, I would like to get that baby blue mix into the color scheme of the Robertson Cup, but at the same time, I think the Black Bears have just a bigger chip on their shoulder than their Nordiques do. And Piney Orchard, man, I tell you what, it's a small little barn, but they got a nice home ice advantage there.
Oh, yeah. They packed that thing. And we'll save the baby blue for Wisconsin when they come up to Blaine.
Very true.
That'll do it for this episode. Again, good luck to all the teams. Good luck to everybody this weekend and as games continue to happen. And we will catch you on the next episode when we're down to 4.
We'll be together for that one.
We will. Yes, sir. All right, signing off for Short Shifts. I'm Brandon Hofstra, Vinnie Paracelli. Thanks again for watching.